Turn off notifications. All right, so let me get this set up here. Where is my metronome? Hopefully you guys can hear this. Can you guys hear that okay? Is the audio better? Because with the live streams, I always have trouble with the audio. So please tell me if you can hear me and if you can hear the guitar. Can you guys hear that at all, hopefully? We hear you fine? Awesome. Okay, that's good because usually the audio is terrible for my for my live streams, and I'm trying to work on it to get better. So here's what we're going to do today. I wanted to do something a little bit different where I had an idea for a video. I get asked a lot about how to play faster, increase speed, increase accuracy. And so I thought it would be cool to do like a live lesson. And forgive me if I'm looking two different ways, but I'm using my iPhone as the webcam today, which I'm also trying out for the first time. So be patient with me here. Yeah. I need to figure out a better, setup for live stream so that you guys can hear me and the guitar better, which I need to figure that out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run through exactly. Here we go. Now I got my metronome. Okay. We're going to be using, we're going to be going over basically what I use with my students, and basically giving you a full lesson on how to increase your speed and accuracy, how to do it properly, and just the best approach to kind of a daily workout for increasing speed and accuracy. So thank you guys for joining. And also why I wanted to do this live is so that you guys can ask questions, you guys can, interact, right? So it's kind of fun this way. So definitely feel free to ask questions. I will be paying attention to that as well. Yes, go grab your guitar. Let's do this. All right. So for our speed and accuracy lesson, we're going to be using our best friend for this, which is, of course, our metronome. The metronome is the absolute best way to work on speed and accuracy. Now, this is something great to work on whether you're completely new to it and you've never really practiced this way before, totally fine. Or if you've been playing a long time and you still just want to push yourself to that next level to kind of get rid of any obstacles in your playing, which is how I always describe speed and accuracy. Is it's not, you don't practice speed and accuracy only to just be able to shred, even though that can be fun. It's really just eliminating obstacles in your playing so that there's nothing physically holding you back too much when you're trying to execute something. So with the metronome, this is, again, the best way to gauge your progress and to work on it. When you're practicing trying to play something fast, let's say it's just an exercise or if it's a scale or something, I can try to play that fast. I don't know how fast I'm playing it. I don't know if it's perfectly in time. If I come back to it the next day and I try to play it maybe a little faster, it's hard to tell if you're actually going a bit faster than you were yesterday or if it's still in time. It's really hard to gauge the progress that way. And especially day to day, it may just sound like it's the same speed over and over and over. So with the metronome, you can actually gauge exactly how fast you're going, how accurate it is, because you're trying to play in time to the metronome. Very important. So it's just an amazing tool. It's a lot of fun to practice. So I'm going to start with 60 BPM, and hopefully you guys can hear this okay. Let me know if you guys can hear that. That's loud enough. So This is the way I use, or this is like kind of the system I use with students, and it's really important to start slow. It's very, very important to start slow. And sometimes you may be surprised, starting slow is actually pretty difficult and can be one of the more challenging speeds to play at, surprisingly. So what I mean by that is when I start at 60 BPM, I'm just going to use a chromatic exercise here. So meaning I'm going to be starting at the 5th fret on the low E string at the top. And I'm just going to be chromatically playing across 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to work my way down all the strings playing 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, a lot of you may have tried something like that. Excuse me. Some of you have tried something like this similar, but I'm just going to show you kind of the best way to practice this type of stuff. So we're going to start off with a simple exercise, just chromatically going. Once I reach the bottom, I'm going to shift over a fret. And when you're practicing this, definitely feel free to shift up or shift back. Doesn't really matter. But I do shift just so that I can have a continuous 4-note grouping. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I work my way back up. Also, this works as a great warm-up exercise, which I literally did not warm up before this live stream. I was trying to get everything working. So this is going to be my warm-up at the same time. But that's usually how I suggest practicing it, is use it as like a 10 to 15 minute warm-up before you play. And it's a great way to start off your practice routine. Okay, so now that we got our exercise, we're just chromatically going all the way down, shifting over, coming all the way back up. With my picking hand, I'm going to be focusing on trying to alternate pick. I just saw that question now, one step ahead. So yes, I am going to be alternate picking the entire thing. When you're going slow, it may not seem necessary to alternate pick when it's like, as you speed up, you definitely want to focus on your alternate picking, because if you are using this to push your speed and try to play fast, the down picking is definitely going to hold you back at a certain point. So here we go. This is how you do it. Start with 60 BPM, nice and slow, kind of a moderate tempo. And again, we're going to start slow. So what I mean by that is I'm going to start with quarter notes. So I'm going to be playing 1 note per beat. And you're thinking, well, I thought this was a speed exercise, which it is. But again, it's really important to start slow and try to lock in with that metronome as tightly as you can. And that's the hard part, is just getting your note as accurate as possible with the beat. So let's try that out. Quarter notes, 1 note per beat. And I'm really trying to focus on hitting the click as tight as possible. It's harder than it looks to try to get it at the exact same time. Now that's 60 BPM. If I were to slow it down even further, if I was going to go down to like 50 or 45 BPM, it actually gets even harder because there's so much time between beats. It's hard to anticipate when the next one's coming around and get it right on the beat. So that's why I was saying sometimes the slower tempos can actually be the more challenging speeds to play at. So once you feel pretty good with that, with the quarter notes, and you're kind of locked into the beat, you know exactly when they're coming around, keep the metronome at the same BPM, the same tempo, 60, and try to go up to 8th notes, which means you're going to be playing 2 notes per beat. So it's going to be twice as fast, but again, we started with a slow tempo, so it shouldn't feel too quick. So for each click, you want to play 2 notes. And this is definitely where I would start focusing on the alternate picking at the same time. Hopefully you guys can hear that okay, and it's coming across nice and clear. So that was eighth notes at 60 BPM. You could hear that I'm playing 2 notes per beat. And I'm still really trying to focus on getting the click and just like really locking in with that time. It's really easy to kind of rush it or go a little bit too slow. So it takes practice, be patient with it, but just really try to focus on the metronome as you're playing so that you're locking in with the time as much as you can. All right, so nice, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so let's carry on. Now, when you're practicing this, I would actually suggest to not watch my demonstrations too much because you want to try to figure out the rhythm and the timing on your own. Now, if you're really stuck with it and you can't seem to figure out how fast you should be playing, then you can come back and watch these demonstrations. But it's much easier to just kind of mimic what you're hearing me do than to listen to the click and try to figure out 2 notes per beat, 3 notes per beat, and so on. So try to do it that way. It would be more beneficial for your practice. So here's the next one where it can get pretty challenging. We're going to go into triplets, which means you're playing 3 notes per beat, but you're playing 4 notes per string in this exercise. And it can get a little confusing at first. I'll show you a couple different tips for how to do that. But it also creates kind of a cool grouping when you're hearing 3 notes per beat, but 4 notes per string, so that the click isn't landing at the same part of the phrase every single time. So best way to count triplets, excuse me here for a second. Best way to count triplets is to literally just use the word triplet. Triplet, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That gives you the feel for triplets. Another great, I keep interrupting myself. Another great way to approach it is to also look at the pattern and think about, okay, what note am I trying to get to for the second beat? So if I'm playing 3 notes per beat, and again, 4 notes per string, I should be landing at the second beat on my pinky. 1, 2, 3, 1. Right? So that's also a good approach, is to kind of look at, okay, what note am I supposed to be getting to for the next beat? And then you can try to just kind of keep that momentum going with that speed, and you should be able to kind of feel your way through that grouping. So again, 60 BPM triplets. Now, of course, when you're practicing this, you can just continue and keep going up the fretboard and maybe shift up another fret and just keep it going for as long as you can. If you want a great warm-up exercise, even start at the first fret with this chromatic exercise and just keep shifting up 1 fret at a time until you reach like the 12th fret or something like that. And that will be great for your technique. All right, so that was triplets at 60 BPM, 3 notes per beat. I'll do that one more time for you guys. So again, counting triplet, 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 triplet. And again, just really trying to focus on the click and trying to nail it at the exact same time when it comes around. So then we are going to go up to 1 and 2 and yeah, absolutely. Anything really like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or triplet, or just anything that gets you into that triplet feel. You can kind of count it a variety of ways. Absolutely. Now getting into 16th notes. So 16th notes would be 4 notes per beat, so a little bit faster. But sometimes that can actually feel easier with this exercise because you're using 4 notes per string. So you're basically going to be playing 1 string per beat. Your first finger should be landing on the click every single time. And then on the way back up, your pinky. Staying at the same BPM, still at 60 BPM, a slow, moderate tempo, 4 notes per beat now. So 16th, you can count 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, can sound a little silly at first, but it works. So 1E and a 2E and a, so hopefully you can feel that rhythm, 4 notes per beat. It's gradually getting faster, each different rhythmic subdivision that I'm going to, meaning the quarter notes and eighth notes and triplets and 16ths. So I made the mistake when I was younger practicing with the metronome all the time, was that I mostly just focused on 16th notes a lot. And it wasn't until I went to school for music where I was in a class and it was like, you have to be able to play any phrase in any rhythmic grouping. So if it's a 4-note phrase, you don't just play it in 16ths, you have to be able to play it in triplets or sextuplets or whatever, right? So it kind of just opened my mind at the time to, oh yeah, like that does make sense. And just because it's a 6-note phrase doesn't mean you just play it in a 6-note rhythm, right? So it's good to go through all those different subdivisions with it. Now, the next thing, you can kind of stop at 16th notes. I definitely feel free to keep going. If you have the speed, you can get into like sextuplets, or you can even really challenge yourself and try like, quintuplets and septuplets and stuff like that. But for the average player, what I would suggest is make your way up to 16th notes, and then you can increase the speed of the metronome. So I was at 60 BPM, so now we'll bump it up to 70. It's going to still be like fairly moderate. 1E and a 2E and a, hopefully you can hear I'm still. And can you guys hear the guitar and the metronome okay? Is it? Do let me know, just because I want to make sure I'm not, talking about all this and you can't hear the examples. So now getting into increasing it even more, that was 70 BPM. For me, it still feels moderate, still feels okay. The most important thing when you're practicing for speed, this is part of the live lesson instead of an edited YouTube video. So when you're practicing for speed, the most important thing to do with the metronome is you have to push yourself to that point where it's not quite comfortable. So if this exercise is okay for you, the alternate picking's good, you can play it smoothly, and you're locked in with the metronome, you have to push it faster than that. And when you're finding that threshold for where you can't quite do it, little jumps in tempo, meaning like if you can increase the metronome like 3 BPM compared to what you did it a day or two ago, that's a good jump. That's a solid jump. And if you do that every other day or every third day over a couple weeks, that can really add up to a lot of increased speed from where you're at. So it's like these small baby steps to get really fast and to make sure you're keeping your accuracy, maintaining your accuracy as you're working on it. So it's not just trying to play like there's no rhythm to that. It's just like a blaze of notes. And sometimes that can have a really cool effect in a setting, but it sounds much cooler when you can kind of lock in with the time and you're really, hitting the notes accurately that way. So that was 70 BPM. Let's keep going. We'll just keep pushing the speed and see how it feels as we keep going. So if you have the time to practice, you can definitely you can definitely still go through the different subdivisions like quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, sixteenths at each tempo. So as I increase it to 80, I could, bump it back down to quarters. Make sure I'm locked in with that. Eighths. Make sure I'm locked in. Triplets. Sixteenths. Let's keep going. Let's keep going up with the speed. This is fun. I haven't done this in like quite a long time. So 90 BPM. Now I'm jumping up 10 BPM just because this is a fairly slow tempo for me. But if you're feeling it fast, again, 3 to 5 BPM is a solid jump. So usually I wouldn't recommend going up 10 BPM. Just if you're playing at a speed that's not a challenge for you, then you can bump it up a little bit more than usual. 90. So you can, again, go through the different subdivisions. And it is good practice to try to switch between them. It also just sounds cool. I love the sound of that going from like 16ths to triplets or the other way around. It just sounds really cool. All right. So now what I'll do is I'll just stick to 16th notes just so that we can get through the different tempos a little bit quicker. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E. Also, keep in mind, as I say to students, is when you're trying this for the first time, if this is a new way of practicing for you, this is challenging. This is tough to do. And it's really, really tough to like lock in with the metronome very accurately, okay? So this is something that I've practiced countless hours throughout my life. It would be really interesting to tally up how many hours I've spent doing this since I was younger, but many, many, many hours. So, I've done this like many times. So you start to develop a better feel for the tempo and the exercise and stuff like that. But at first, be patient with it. Work your way up in speed gradually. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of time. And again, we're looking to hit that wall. We're looking to get to that point where it's like kind of falling apart. And that's really where you're going to make the most progress. So let's keep going. Oh, just to answer a question here, can you run by the switching again? So what I mean by that is, hopefully this answers the question, but what I mean by that is as I'm going with the metronome, you can actually try to switch the rhythms as you're playing. So instead of starting with like quarters, working your way through, stopping, starting again with eighth notes, which totally fine, you can do that. Stopping, starting again with triplets. Try to actually do it mid-exercise. Try to do it as you're going. And that's really challenging because you get used to, say, eighths, 1 and 2 and 3 and then you just instantaneously switch to triplets. And then 60s. I'm still keeping the exercise the exact same way. So I'm not playing the exercise any differently. It's still just 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way down, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the way back. I want to answer some questions at the same time. So please do keep them coming. I want this to be an interactive lesson. And if you guys like this format compared to say an edited YouTube video of how to practice with a metronome, let me know, because it would be a lot of fun to do this some more. So please do keep the questions going. Can you play Hail to the King, Avenged Sevenfold? Not really. And the reason I say that, I actually had a student recently who did that for a performance, and he is like 16 years old. I think he just turned 16, and I've been teaching him since he was maybe like 11 or something like that. And this kid is amazing. Like, he really is incredible. I'm trying to convince him to, whether it be like a YouTube channel or TikTok or something like that, just to kind of showcase his playing, just because he's so talented, and I don't think he realizes how talented he is. It's pretty nuts to watch him play. But he recently did Hail to the King, including the solo, all the way through with the tune and stuff like that. So I've worked on it with him in terms of helping him with parts and stuff, but I've never really sat down with it myself to like really work on it and get it. It's something like that kind of. It's also in like drop C sharp, so it sounds a little bit different than what I'm playing right now. But yeah, he did the solo and everything. It was like pretty wild to hear him. Yeah, I don't know it. I'd have to look at it. But some of those, like I helped him with the sweeping part, of course, and some of the runs are pretty challenging. Something like that. But actually, to tie that in with what we're doing today, that's an excellent example of taking a phrase like that, which can be challenging, but notice how it's rhythmically consistent, meaning that every single note's the same speed. That's how you would get something like that up to speed, is if you find it challenging to play it really fast, bring out the metronome, slow it right down, try to lock in with the click again. Make sure you can do it at that speed before you try to speed it up. And then just each day, you just get it gradually faster, gradually faster. Something like that. Again, I don't actually know it that well, but just when working on that type of stuff where it's a rhythmically consistent riff, that's how you do it. And someone just mentioned Dream Theater. This practice style that I'm sharing with you guys is very much in the style of like John Petrucci. If you guys are familiar with his Rock Discipline instructional DVD from the 90s, it's a great video for developing your technique. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is pretty much a lot of the same stuff he talks about in his DVD. So it's very much that precise, accurate way of playing. And no one does that better than John Petrucci. The guy's a beast. But even with a rhythm riff, like speaking of Dream Theater, and I'll have to try this by memory, so I probably won't be able to do it too great, but they have so many great riffs. But one that I like is Constant Motion, which is a more recent track. So that's another great example where it's more of like a rhythm riff, and it's not so much a solo exercise, but that would be excellent to work on with the metronome because it's rhythmically consistent and you can try to lock in with the time. So that's, again, this can work for anything. We're using just a chromatic exercise today because it's best to start with. It kind of works all your fingers and just gets you started that way, but absolutely apply it to everything else. So whether it be trying to play a scale fast or like a shred exercise. Whatever it is you're trying to work on, this is the way to get fast. So let's keep going. Oh, is it not working? Is it clear? Can you hear me, guys? Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Okay, good. So let's keep going. 10 16th notes. And I'm just going to keep increasing the speed. Now, again, keep in mind, I've spent like literally countless hours practicing this. So, you know, I've over time have worked it up to faster tempo, but it takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of time. The reason I'm doing this though is I'm trying to show you that when it starts to feel fast and when it's like pretty tough to do and you can't really make it through all the way perfectly, that's where you want to get to. You have to push yourself to that tempo, that speed. It's also a great way to start to feel the rhythm before you start, is just mute the strings and just get the right hand in motion for how fast you have to play to match the click. So if I'm doing 16ths, just feel that 16th rhythm. Another technique side note is it's really important when you're doing this kind of stuff to just keep your hand rested on the bridge, on the thick strings when you're not using them. Just try to keep your hand down. Now everyone holds the pick differently, everyone does things different, but if your hand's floating in the air like this, it's going to be really, really hard to control your picking. So I always have it anchored here. Some people anchor with the pinky. The only trouble you run into with that, especially on the electric guitar, is that you can hear a lot of noise from the other strings as you're playing, where with this, you're not really going to run into that issue as you're playing. So it really cleans up your playing if you're here blocking all the noise instead. I don't even know if I can do this, but hear all that going on, right? So that's what your right hand gets rid of. Maybe not the hum of these single coil pickups, but all the excess noise. So let's keep going. This is fun. 130. And again, when you're at these faster tempos, you can go through all the different subdivisions, again, like quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16ths, all that kind of stuff. Now, one additional thing to keep in mind when you're practicing this, because a lot of times it's just these little tricks and kind of mental tricks for pushing yourself with the speed. So I compare it a lot to like lifting weights in a way. So, and what I mean by that is you can kind of mentally psych yourself out a lot more than actually physically psych yourself out. So what I mean is, let's say I'm doing it at, 130 and I'm getting it and it's starting to feel fast. 135 can feel pretty intimidating to go to, even though it's only 5 BPM faster. So a lot of times you're more like psyching yourself out than it is you can't physically do it. So sometimes what you do is a little mental perspective is, say I'm having trouble at 135, I'll go to 140, 145. And that's obviously going to feel tough and feel kind of stressful to do. But then when you bring it back down to 130 or 135, it all of a sudden feels easier, like there's some relief, which is just a funny kind of mental trick to use. And again, that's very similar to lifting weights, where if you're trying to lift something that's 40 pounds and it feels really heavy, go and try to lift 45 pounds. And then when you lift 40 again, it feels lighter all of a sudden, right? So it's the same thing with the metronome. Feel free to go even faster than what's difficult, bring it back down, and all of a sudden it feels a little bit easier in perspective. So let's keep going. I haven't done this in a while. It's interesting to see how fast we can go. See, that was pretty good, but there was a couple notes in there where maybe the pick is not synced up with the hand as best as it should be, right? So it's just working on that. I would just do that again, keep practicing it. And then once you feel like you have that under control, then you can, again, just keep going and try to push yourself to where it's really, really fast. That was pretty good. But it's also really important the type of pick that you use. I'm using, and this is not any sort of sponsorship at all, but I'm using these Dava picks, if you can see them. They're actually awesome. And they're kind of similar to the size of like a Jazz 3, if you can see here, maybe a little bit bigger. But I find they have better grip and they just feel better in the hand, to be honest. So one thing that I got recently, which like shocked me, was I got these awesome Eddie Van Halen picks as a gift from my fiance, which is great. And the thing that, like, I obviously love them because they're Eddie Van Halen, but the thing that shocked me was they're like, apparently they're the pick that Eddie used, but like they are extremely thin. They are 0.6, which I don't know if that's true that he used them or not, but if he did, that's really impressive to be able to play the way he plays with a super thin pick. I'm fighting the string at that point with these picks to try to keep it precise and accurate. Like maybe you can get it, but it does make it a lot harder when you have really thin picks compared to something that just you don't have to kind of fight your way through. So but again, it's personal preference. I know a lot of players who do like medium picks, the heavy picks, the pointed picks. Like there's so many different kinds. So let's do just a little bit more, and then I do want to answer some questions and stuff. So feel free to ask away because I love interacting with you guys and kind of answering the questions that you guys want to know. So let's keep going. 16th. If you're joining us now, just a quick recap. This is the way to practice speed and accuracy, is using the metronome. And we've gone through the different rhythmic subdivisions of, meaning play the exercise in quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, sixteenths, and playing the different numbers of notes per beat. But now I'm using 16th notes, 4 notes per beat, and I'm trying to push myself with the metronome to a speed where it gets pretty challenging. As you can hear, that's fast. That's 160. Trying to play 4 notes to each one of those clicks. It's pretty fast, right? So that's fun. And yeah, you just keep going until you can't really get it. Let's say I go like really fast here. We'll see how this goes. So this is ridiculous. Still trying to play 16th notes. So let's say I can only get part way through the exercise. I can't make it like all the way down and all the way up. When I'm practicing tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to see if I can just get a little bit further with it, or maybe just a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter with the rhythm. It's just about those little improvements day to day that add up to a lot over time. So let's see how it goes. That's fast. So that's definitely starting to fall apart. And again, that's the most important part of this practicing is, as I say to students, you have to be comfortable with playing it and being uncomfortable as you're practicing it, meaning that if you can play it flawlessly all the way down and all the way up, you're not pushing yourself. You have to keep going. So that was fun. That's 190, which is really, really fast. So that's how you increase your speed and accuracy, is make sure to start slow. You have to start slow so that you can really get a good feel of the metronome, lock in with that click. Then you can go through the different subdivisions just so that you can play the exercise. And again, whatever exercise you're using, there's so many different types that you can use, and be able to play it in triplets and 16ths and all that kind of stuff. And then just slowly increase the metronome each day to that threshold where you can't quite get it. Maybe bring it back down just a little bit so it feels more comfortable, and then push yourself again. The next day, try to push it maybe 3 BPM faster, which doesn't sound like a lot, but again, that adds up to a lot over time. And now I need a new DABA pick because that just shredded the pick as I'm using. So before I go, I hope that helps you guys, and I hope that is an approach that all of you can use, whether again it's like something that you're new to, or if it's something you've done before, maybe it's just a slightly different approach than what you've tried before. If you're really comfortable with the exercise of 1, 2, 3, 4, again, use a scale, use an exercise, use a riff, use something that is fun to practice. So take a minor scale. And work on that up and down with the metronome, or just arpeggios and everything. Just use the metronome a lot for speed and accuracy is basically what I'm saying. So let's do some questions, because I think I've talked long enough about this. So how can I get better at alternate picking while playing a solo? It really would be this approach. So what I mean by that is, start slow, make sure you're doing it very controlled. You can use exercises or songs that would really work on your alternate picking. Off the top of my head, some would be like Thunderstruck is a great one for just working on alternate picking a single string. You could do something like Sweet Child of Mine, where you're having to move around and jump around a lot to control your alternate picking. If that's okay for you, then you can push past that and try more like kind of shred style exercises to work on your alternate picking. Just take little bits, whether it's like an Igve thing. Or, oh, that's it. I love those Igve lines. But that would be how to work on your alternate picking, is to just start slow, work your way up through it. Use a metronome. It's one of the best tools for tracking your progress. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying this. This is fun. Yeah, I appreciate you guys spending the time with me, so thank you. How did you choose the Shark guitar? Are you talking about the Eddie Van Halen one? I assume so. Um, that one actually isn't my personal guitar. I borrowed that for the videos. Sometimes I'll do that if I can find like cool guitars just for like content and videos. That guitar is super cool, and I love the EVH line. But if I was to spend that kind of money on a guitar, I'd probably go with something different, to be honest. I thought it was really cool, but I thought it was a little expensive. I'm not gonna lie for that guitar. Also, when I first grabbed it, it needed a setup terribly, so didn't feel the best when I first got it. So let's keep going. How did you choose the shirt, or how did the accents go? So, do you think practicing scales at faster speed, which makes it more fun, is a better way to learn them faster and even practice like economy picking? Yeah, using scales can be great for practicing technique, like alternate picking and stuff like that, because that's also something you can use more practically in your playing and your soloing, where you're probably not going to do like a 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 exercise in a solo. Like you could, but it's probably not something you're going to use very often. But you would use a scale, and especially if you're trying to play fast in a solo, you absolutely would use scale shapes, and it sounds so much better. It sounds musical. Stuff like that, right? So take those shapes. I love that like Dimebag Eddie Van Halen style, where it's like not even a scale; it's just a shape. It's just like literally just 3 frets all the way up. It like musically makes no sense, but it sounds amazing. Andy James, yeah, that guy is like amazing. Andy James is like incredible. So uh, I I've watched a lot of his videos, and yeah, incredibly impressive. His accuracy and his like how clean he plays is just unbelievable. Love that guy. What kind of books do I have? I love to read, but it's a big like collection, all different styles and business books, biographies, fiction. I love reading that kind of stuff. But what's my holy grail guitar? That's a good question, but that's also a tough one. I've been kind of thinking of that. Like, I recently got the Les Paul tribute, which I absolutely love. But then I would have like my Ibanez, which is just off camera there, and a Strat. I have like a bunch of guitars right now that are like really different styles, like really different, um, you know, styles of guitars. So if I had to pick one, it would be tough to have one that incorporates all the elements I like from all those guitars. But it would be super fun or cool to try to either build, design, or see if there is one that would kind of do it all. But I definitely, as I said earlier, the Shark guitar I just borrowed for the videos, but I definitely want an EVH guitar of some kind, and I'm still deciding on which one would be the one to get, because the Wolfgang guitars are a versatile. You can do anything with that guitar, and they obviously look great. They have that kind of mixture of a Strat and a Les Paul, which I like. But then the Striped series, which just look so cool, but they're more like one trick guitar where you got one pickup and one volume, so it's like you get the sound you get, and you can't really switch tones on that too much. But again, if you're doing it for like an Eddie Van Halen style, then that's all you need. That's the guitar. Yes, Devin, I did see the collaboration between Ernie Ball and Tosin. I would be extremely interested in trying one of those guitars out. Surprisingly though, even though I always used to play like 7-string guitars and stuff like that, I would really love to just try the 6-string guitar and see how that kind of sizes up to a lot of the other guitars. But it looks super cool. It has some like really new but practical features where it's like just stuff that you're like, how come no one else thought of that before? You know, it looks like a real great guitar and practical to play. And of course, because it's co-designed by Tosin, I'm sure it plays and sounds amazing, because if he's going to use it, then it's going to be pretty good. I would love to like either do a video where I review the guitar, or so, Ernie Ball, if you're watching, which I assume you're not, but if you are, hit me up and I can demo that guitar. That would be super fun. This guitar is so much fun. I love this thing. So I hope that's been really helpful. And again, let me know in the comments if you're watching this after the fact, if you like this kind of like live lesson format, because it can just be fun and a little more relaxed. And I don't know if any of you shoot any YouTube stuff, but for some reason, as soon as you press record on the camera, you just forget half the stuff you're about to say. So this is just fun and relaxing. I can interact with you guys and answer questions and stuff like that. So feel free to let me know if there's any other kind of lesson that you would love to see. Always let me know in the comments what kind of content you guys would love to see, because I definitely am always trying to think of fun stuff to share with you guys, right? So yeah, I appreciate the feedback. So what's the name of your guitar? This is, just quickly, this is a guitar that I was like super shocked by, because on TikTok, I did a sponsored post for this company, and it's a beginner guitar. This thing sells on Amazon for less than like $200 in Canada here. And so when they sent me the guitar, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect very much. It's by Lix Pro, if you see that there. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, and then I swear the night I got it, I played it for like 2 hours straight. The thing was so much fun. It has like a nice stratty sound to it. If I can clean it up, I got some distortion on, but it has that nice stratty tone to it, and it was fun to like play like big V lines. It's just a really like super fun guitar to play. I probably would switch the pickups out, because they're fairly cheap pickups, get a lot of noise from them. So if I put on some like DiMarzios, I think this thing would rip, and it would be like so much fun to play. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think, what other lessons you'd like to see. It's always fun to get on here with you guys and talk guitar and help you guys play and stuff like that. So all right, last question. How many hours a day do you recommend practicing to get to the pro level? Because that's a great question. So when I was younger, I used to practice like a lot, like an insane amount, to a point that I would never recommend anyone doing it. There's no practical reason to practice that much. But it was because I heard that my favorite guitar players, Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, Slash, Satriani, all those guys, they said, well, I just practiced like 8 to 10 hours a day. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to do that. And luckily, being younger, I had the time where I could do that. There's no possible way of doing that now, unfortunately. But I think if you're practicing really effectively and efficiently, meaning really sitting and working on your playing and working on your vocabulary on the instrument, I think a pro level, I honestly think if you were to practice really effectively, I think you could get away with 2 hours of practice. I actually do. If you could get up to 3 hours of practice, or what I suggest to students is have short days and have long days. So if you have a couple days in the week where you can get 3 hours of practice, which is amazing, and the other days you can only get in an hour, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be the same amount of time every single day, but it's more just picking up the guitar every single day is what's going to help you. Missing a bunch of days in a row, that's going to set you back, and then you have to kind of relearn and work on what you're doing. So pick up the guitar every day. As I say to students, even if you don't feel like you have a lot of time, and I have, say you have 20 minutes that you can play, and it's only 20 minutes, I might as well not even do it. Do it. Pick up the guitar and play for 20 minutes. It's going to help you get better. But to get to a pro level, I don't think you would really need more than 2 to 3 hours a day, but obviously the more practice, the better. I'm not saying don't practice more than that. I would never say that, but just, I think you can do really, really well with 2 to 3 hours of effective, efficient practicing, meaning that your practice time is divided into multiple areas. You're practicing your scales, your chords, your technique, some ear training. Improvising is extremely important. So just like kind of putting in a little bit of everything is really important. But or if you watch those psycho exercises with John Petrucci back in the day, where he practiced 25 hours a day, do that. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining, and I want to do this again soon. So you guys have a great day, and hope you enjoyed.